If you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes this show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And if you want to make absolutely sure that your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat button. Um, This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button, and let's keep the show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can also go to the gsmcpodcast.net to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're really thankful to have you as part of our community. We have to start off with Thomas Tuchel, or Thomas Tuchel being set to be named as England manager. The bomb dropped a little bit pretty early this morning. My time early this morning. It was around what, noon in the afternoon my time. The bomb dropped. Thomas Tuchel is agrees to become England manager. All the major sport all the major sport outlets discussed it and confirmed that this was going on. And yeah, it was unbelievable reaction for me. It was in the middle of work. I couldn't believe the headline I was reading. I didn't think this was gonna happen and happen as fast as what's been going on recently with England. With that disappointing loss to Greece and then an okay win against Finland. And yeah, now he's Thomas Tuchel is set to be the England manager. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. Let's go strictly big picture for England. If you're an England national team supporter, you should be thrilled at this decision. This is a brilliant manager. This is probably technically the most best manager you've had since Fabio Capello. The rest of the managers really have gotten an opportunity because of the relationship they've had with the English FA. You look at the likes of Roy Hudson, Sam Allardyce, Gareth Southgate, even Lee Carsley, who got a little bit of a run as interim manager. It's all basis on the relationship with the English FA. This is not the case. This is a Thomas Tuchel that has no links with the English FA. Yes, he's been a manager in the Premier League, but other than that, has no links, didn't come up the ranks, is a foreign manager. By the way, this is their first foreign manager since Fabio Capello, which is something that we'll get into later. But yes, he's agreed, Thomas Tuchel. You're looking at it from his perspective. You get this world-class national team filled with talent all over the pitch. You have the pick of the crop at every position. You have players that you're comfortable with, that you've managed, like Harry Kane, Reece James, if he can get back and his fitness levels can get back to that level. And then you have players that you've went up against on a day-to-day basis in the Premier League. It's a team, it's a squad of players that he's going to be fully aware of. He's going to understand their weaknesses, their strengths. He has a good idea of the players there are, and this is a team with huge talent and quality that should be battling for trophies on the international level. So there's that aspect of it if you're Thomas Tuchel. And yes, he's had a lot of, issues, with things that he's wanted. But really, when you look at this England squad, he can't want anymore. He has, really, really good, talented players at every level, and a crop to pick off, a wide crop to pick off. So that's there. If you're looking at England from England perspective, you're getting a manager that, number one, has a great resume, has a great CV, and will get the respect of the players right away because of what he has accomplished at the highest of levels. Especially just talking about him winning that Champions League in Chelsea, which is really the holy grail of his, management. But overall, he has a great resume, winning league titles in different countries, winning league titles in France, in Germany, in England, winning the Champions League in England, reaching another Champions League final with with Chelsea, reaching another Champions League final with PSG. His resume, his CV will earn him the respect, and he's also a manager. He's not gonna deal with the nonsense, He's a no-nonsense type of manager, and he's, and the discipline and focus will be there from the team, or else he will be the first one to address it, and he won't deal with all the nonsense there is. So that aspect of it, and also international competitions, mostly, international competitions are mostly, besides the qualifiers, the big things in international trophy are all cup competitions. It's the World Cups, it's the European Championship. Thomas Tuchel, in my opinion, he's a brilliant cup manager. He took PSG to a Champions League final, a final that they have not been able to sniff, without him. They've never been able to, they've reached the semi-final, but other than that, no success in the semi-final here and there. But other than that, not much success. Thomas Tuchel did take PSG to semi-final. He took a Chelsea team to a final. A Chelsea team, when he originally was brought in the middle of that season, were in very bad turmoil. They found themselves sitting, I believe, 8th or 9th in the Premier League, in a low position. He got that team, number one, back into the top 4, and he, took that team within a span of a few months, and they went on to lift the freaking Champions League. So this is a brilliant cup manager. Even with Bayern this season, this was a Bayern team that is one of the worst, last season, that was one of the worst Bayern teams over the past decade when you saw what they did in the league. But that team were still able to reach the semi-final. I think Thomas Tuchel in cup competitions is a brilliant manager. He's able to adjust on the fly, to make in-game adjustments, to get the players and to get the team playing in the best position to get the result that's needed. I think Tuchel does a very, very good job of that, and I think managing these competitions is something that he's really, really good at, and it's something that England, the English FA is obviously valuing, and also just the fact that he's tactically a really good decision maker. He's, he can make in-game adjustments, that aspect of it. Now, the one thing that he does not have that Gareth Southgate has, the only thing that he does not have that Gareth Southgate has, is Gareth Southgate's ability to do all the extra stuff in terms of managing outside the pitch. I'm talking dealing with the press. I'm talking maintain a great relationship with the higher ups. Thomas Tuchel, generally he's been decent with the press. Even, going back to his Chelsea days, the press relationship has been solid. But it's a different level now with the England national team. Dealing with the English press as the English manager, that comes with a different pressure and a different wave of criticism that he's going to be under. And also, he's had issues over the past few jobs that he's had in terms of, issues with the hierarchy. Now, obviously, some of those issues that he had with the hierarchy is not really going to be present when it comes to international teams, because it's a little bit of a different dynamic there. But still, the communication aspect of it, he needs to make sure that he can deal with the outside of the pitch as well as Gareth Southgate, because that was really what Gareth Southgate's strength was as the English manager, was managing everything other than the footballing. Now, the footballing side of Gareth Southgate, he wasn't good enough technically, obviously, as a manager. He wasn't good enough tactically, his flexibility, his formation, none of that was good enough. His decision-making, his squad choice, his starting 11 choice, none of it was good enough. And Thomas Tuchel in all those aspects trumps his ability to, Gareth Southgate, to do all of that. He's just a way better manager, tactically, adjustments, squad choice, player development, all of that. He's just a way better manager. But outside of the pitch, I think Gareth Southgate did a little bit of a better job than Thomas Tuchel. Or Gareth Southgate did a really good job, and I think has that advantage over Thomas Tuchel, that Thomas Tuchel will need to manage, being the manager of England. There's also talks about him being a foreign manager. This is the first time he's the foreign manager since, I think going back to 2012 with Fabio Capello. Look, it's 2024. In my opinion, you should get the best manager in class. If the best manager is not English, of the manager that can get England, the manager that gives England the best chance to win the World Cup should be the manager. Whether he is English, German, Spanish, it does not matter. All this English manager needs to be, well, what is the point? If the best in class is not an English manager, then that is the deal. That's what it is. When you end up lifting the trophy, when the England national team lift up this trophy 30 years from now, when they're telling the story, are they going to say, oh, the manager was German? No, they're not going to say the manager was German. They're going to say Harry Kane lifted the World Cup, or whoever is the captain at that point lifted the World Cup. They're not going to talk about this or this or that or this or that. No. So for me, this whole thing, come on, just get the best manager in there that can give you the best opportunity. Don't self-sabotage because of self-pride that you have. No, this has to be an English manager with the English national team. No. If the English managers that you have are not up to the level to lead this England team as far as possible, in the World Cup, then of a foreign manager is necessary, then a foreign manager. Even Brazil, the Brazil national team, they looked at Carlo Ancelotti. They tried really hard because they understood there's a lack of real talent in the coaching pool amongst Brazilians. And I think that's a decision that the English have to make, especially when they watched. Maybe they wanted to give Lee Carsley a little bit of opportunity to see if he could replicate some of the success that Gareth Southgate had. But after that underwhelming result against Greece, obviously, they ended up, going with this. And yeah, I think there's some good with it. There's some bad with it. But overall, this is a massive signing for England. I think this is a sort of managerial signing that could potentially lead England to, finally winning a trophy for the first time in a very long time. Now, look, I still think there's a mentality problem with the English setup, with the English national team. I think the players play ridiculously different than what they do with their clubs, and I think their performance and the pressure sometimes gets too much to them, and the performance drop, and they naturally become more pragmatic players when they put on the England kit. But at the same time, Thomas Tuchel, now England are not going to go in games thinking, oh, we're going to have to win in despite of Gareth Southgate. They don't have to go in games with that sort of mentality. Fans will not go into games thinking the manager is holding us back now. Now fans actually have a belief saying, wow, we have a brilliant manager that will be, that 99.9% of the time we will have the better manager in international football.